Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of selections from Euripides, and we're reading the Alkestis at the moment, and I got up to line 536. So, of course, Herakles has turned up wanting to be received as a guest. He realizes from Admetos's apparel that he's in mourning, and he's reassured that, oh look, it's just someone who was connected with the house, but it's not anyone particularly important. And Admetos's last line that we read said that when this girl's father died, she lived here as an orphan. Now, Herakles, then we have a line which is extrametrum, as it's called. It's outside of the normal stigomithia. It's just few, oh dear. And Herakles then says, Eth he uromen se admeti me lupumenon. Would that, O Admetos, we found you not grieving. Participle here. Not being grieved, it's actually, well, could be a middle participle, not grieving. Hos de tidrason tondi huperaptes logon. And we get this lovely poetic verb, huperapto. Rapto, of course, is to stitch. Huperapto. Huper gives a sense of mystery to it, of lack of clarity. So it has the sense then of contrive. So it's literally, as indeed, being about to do what thing, you are contriving the following speech. So paraphrasing that slightly, we might say, with what intention, or what intention does your speech imply? One possible rendering of this. So because Herakles is going to say, well, I'm going to go elsewhere. And Herakles, in fact, says this in the next line, Xenon pros alon hestian porusomai. So I will go, and I've got a future there from Porumai, to the hearth of other friends, Xenon. Now, of course, these Xenoi are these guest friends. It was an arrangement, you will know, in ancient Greece, where you had various people you knew you could rely on. If you turned up at their door, they would welcome you in and look after you. Admetos ugesti onax me tosond elthoi kakon. It is not possible. Now, onax is for O and anax, O Lord. Literally, may such an evil thing not come. So may this terrible outcome not occur, we might say in English. Herakles replies, Lupumenois okleros e moloi xenos. It is, now okleros, it is a harsh thing, or troublesome, or irksome. So it is so a xenos is the main subject of this. So a guest friend, if he might come, is irksome to those who are in grief. To those being grieved, it could be middle, could be passive, to those being grieved or those in grief. The moloi is from the verb blosko. It's an irregular verb, blosko, and the aorist is emolon, and the root of it is mol. And so here we're getting an optative using that mol root from the aorist. So this is an aorist optative. So a visitor, a guest friend, is troublesome or irksome if he happens to come, for those who are in grief. Tethnasi hoi thanontes al ith es domus. Those having died are dead. Come, and again, Allah, often the beginning of a sentence, often best translated as come rather than but. So come, now ith is from ite, and it's from Amy Ibo, go into the house. So yeah, so go into the house, plural for singular, of course. Aiskron parakleiousi thoinastai xenus. It is a disgraceful thing, literally, for guest friends. You've got to supply the verb to be. Thoinastai, to feast beside those who are weeping. So this is a dative plural participle here from Clio after para, and you've got to supply the verb to be. So it is an unpleasant experience, an unpleasant thing for guests to dine beside those who are weeping. Admetos says, choris xenones esi hoi se es axomen. Now, a xenones, plural here, is the guest chambers. It's the rooms where the guests reside, which are generally separate, and that's what he says here. Choris is meaning separate here. So there are separate guest chambers. Hoi, to where. Now that is a dative here, so dative to where we will lead you. Future from S ago. Herakles persists methes me kaisoi morian hexokarin. This is from methiami, let me go. And now this is that idiom echo karin, I am grateful, and this is hexo, the future. So I will be, we would say, very grateful to you. It's literally, I will have 10,000 graces for you, or 10,000 thanks for you, a myriad of thanks for you. So just let me go and I will be very grateful, to paraphrase it slightly. Now, Admetos now says, Ukesti alu se andros hestian molein. Again, it is not possible for you. There's that molein again. We had that moloi above, back up in line 540. Now we're getting the aorist infinitive from this verb blosko. Blosko, molumai, the future, emelon, and membloka for the perfect. So this is the aorist stem. So it is not possible for you to go to the hearth of another man. Now you'll see the editor kindly has given us a little indent here, and because this next section is not being spoken to Herakles, but is being spoken to a servant. And you can see that from so the su is not referring to Herakles, but he will be pointing to one of the mute characters on the stage to do something. So hegusutoidi domaton ex opius xenonas oixas tois de epistos inforason siton parenai plethos. I'll stop it there. So you, pointing to the servant. Now this is an imperative from hegeomai, so you lead, and it takes a dative. So you lead this guy here, i.e. Herakles. So having opened oixas from oignumi, so having opened the xenonas, these are the guest chambers. Ex opius is literally out of sight. It's that ex plus the op root here of face and out of sight. So having opened the guest chambers, which are out of sight of the house, you lead off this guy here. And te phrason, speak, tois ephistosi, dative plural participle from ephistemi, to those who are in charge. So speak to those who are in charge, parenai, to provide, a plethos siton, a multitude of food, so an abundance of food. Because, of course, Herakles is known for being a glutton. E declassity thuras messalus. And this is Cleo to shut, and shut well, so close up very carefully the thuras mes aulus. These are the doors of the inner court. U prepe thoinomenus cluain stenagmon ude, that's a omicron there in the text. So ude lupes thy xenus. It is not fitting, it is not appropriate, we would say, for those who are dining, thunomenus, cluain, to hear, literally groanings or lamentation, we might say, nor it's not appropriate for guests to be grieved. This will be a passive infinitive here. Now at this stage, what's happening on stage? Well, this person, this Sue, this servant, will have taken Herakles off stage, and we're just left with Admetos and the chorus. And the chorus immediately admonish Admetos. Tidras, toiaute sum foras procaimenes admete tolmas xenodocain, timoros e. What are you doing? Now we get a genitive absolute. Such a disaster lying before us, so with such a disaster lying at our feet, our Admetos, you dare, xenodocain, to receive a guest. Now the doc here, I think, is connected with decami, to receive. So this is the idea of receiving a guest. You'd get xenodokaion is a hotel. It's a place where guests, a place which receives strangers. So this is the verb xenodokio. So you dare to receive a guest. Timoros e. Why are you moros? Now we get our unkind word moron from this, but here it just means foolish. So why are you foolish? Now Admetos then replies, al e domon sphe kai polios epelas lase lasa xenon molonta malonan me penesas. If, now the main verb here is epelasa. This is from apo plus elauno is the verb. It's another irregular verb, like most Greek verbs. So this is from ap elauno, to drive away. Sphe is just a poetic form for auton. So if I drove him, with the apos taking the genitive, from the house and from the city, him having arrived as a guest. Now there's that mole root again. Now we're getting an aorist participle from that blosko verb. So if, when a guest having arrived, I drive him out from the house and from the city, malon an me epenesas, the question, would you praise me more? In other words, would you rather I did that? Would you praise me more if I did that? And he answers his own question, udet, no indeed. Epe moi sum fera men uden an maion egignet axenoteros dego. So no indeed, since the sumphora, the disaster for me, literally, would become no smaller, no less. So my problems wouldn't be any less. On the one hand, we get a men, and there's the de here answering it, but I understand would be literally more unfriendly to guests. So you could say my lack of hospitality would be yet another problem. Would be worse. So I would then be regarded as unfriendly. It's a comparative here. Unfriendly to visitors, to guests. So this is really a comparative adjective. It's something like I would be a more unfriendly to guests person. But you can't put that into English, so I just say I would be regarded as unfriendly to guests. Kai pros kakoisin alo out an en kakon domus kalestai tus emus ekthroxenus. Now pros plus the dative in addition to, so in addition to my troubles, there would be this other trouble. So there would be this other trouble in addition to the troubles I already have, that my house, plural for singular, to be called, so the tus emus goes with this. So my house would be called ekthroxenus, a nice poetic word, hostile to visitors, hostile to guests. Autos de aristotudi tunkano xenu. We need the next page, but I'll just do this while we're here. So, and I myself, I chance upon this man as the best guest or best host, guest friend. So in other words, I find him, this man, to be the best of guest friends. Hotan potargus dipsian elthokthona. Whenever I might go, so it's hotan pot, when the pot is indefinite here, so whenever I might go to the dipsian kthona. It's an interesting expression here. You might like to see the commentaries on this. Literally to the thirsty land. This is genitive of Argos. It's a third declension neuter. So she says, I find this man to be the best of all hosts whenever I go, whenever I chance to go to the thirsty land of Argos. The chorus replies, Pos un ekryptes ton paronta daimona, philumelontos andros, hos autos leges. How then, were you hiding your present, daimon here, your present fate, perhaps bad luck, your present bad luck, genitive, well, no, but perhaps from here, I think this is an ablatival genitive. So, from this man who is come, who is dear, as you yourself say. So, it's slightly sarcastic. They're saying here, well, if this man is almost your bosom buddy, how is it that you've kept, so as you yourself claim, how have you managed to keep secret of this present misfortune? That is the sense of it. The chorus parts are often slightly harder to translate into English. They're often slightly more obscure. You have to paraphrase them a little bit. So you could say, if this man who has arrived is your friend, as you say, how then did you cover up your present misfortune? And we're getting lots of use of practice of our blowsco verb. There's again a genitive participle from blowsco with the mole root. This blowsco verb is only used in poetry generally. You don't see it in prose. One of these verbs of coming and going. It's quite common in Homer and very common in Greek tragedy. Uk an pot e thelesen es elthen domus, e ton emon ti pematon ignorise. So how did you do all that? Well, he says, if he recognized from gnorizdo any of my So if he had recognized any of my troubles, my permatone, he would never, so he would not ever have wished to enter the house, plural for singular. So take the second part first. So if he had recognized any of my troubles, he would not have been willing to enter into my house, or into the house. Kaitoi men oimai, dron tad u fronen doko, ud I nesse me. Now this is slightly difficult little bit here in this part here. So now the toe men is being, the det is down here, I think. This toe is indefinite, it's to someone. So I think that having done these things, I do not seem phronein to think well understood to some people, or to someone. So by doing these things, I may not seem to be thinking properly to one person, nor will he praise me. Tamade, but, and that's, I think, answering the men here, but, now the tama for ta emma, and it goes with the malathra, my halls. So my, neuter plural singular verb. So my halls do not know how to, apotheo is the verb, otheos to push, apotheos to push away, so to reject or turn away, nor to dishonour visitors, so strangers. So he says here that, well, someone might think that I'm not thinking correctly when I do these things, nor will they praise me, but my halls do not know how to reject or send away strangers, nor to dishonour them. And that's the end of this little section from the Alkestis.